I have a legend, Tom Rogers, executive chairman of Engine Media Holdings, which you may or may not be familiar with, but I promise you, when you know this man's resume, the names of the companies that he has led or founded are the biggest in media. And Tom, welcome to the Playbook.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, what a pleasure. I'm going to read off real quick. So, those people that may not know about your entire career, you have held leadership roles at TiVo, Prime Media, NBC Cable, NBC, founded at CNBC, and established MSNBC. Besides being a lot of letters, that's a heck of a career. I'd love to know, where does that all start and what was your perspective when you were in school, what you thought you would be doing when you graduated?
well, it all started with TV Guide when I was a little kid next to my bedside table and stacking them up, saving them. And it wasn't because I was interested so much in reading about the cast of TV shows. They had this column in TV Guide about FCC regulation of television. And somehow I got fascinated with it. And that guided me through school. I was very interested in media regulation, through law school, into law firm days, and ultimately landed me on Capitol Hill writing communications legislation and overseeing the FCC. And that was what hooked me. From there, I was lucky enough to get into the business side of it.
In that transition, there's a lot of, we were talking about my family, and I joke around that my family's hyper academic. The fetus isn't fully developed till after graduate school, a lot of parental pressure to be a doctor, a lawyer, a failure. But it's not easy. I have dealt with athletes my entire career transitioning from the field out into the business world. I have found that, doctors and lawyers have the same difficulty transitioning from the field of practice into the business world. But you just took a hold of it, and your creativity to apply the academic intellectual side of what you knew was extraordinary. Was that transition as smooth and as easy as it seems to me, or what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Well, when I said I wanted to leave a Wall Street law firm to go work on Capitol Hill, there were many people, including my future wife, who didn't quite understand why I'd be making that move. To me, it was a chance to have a whole lot more impact in an industry. Most people, when they finish on Capitol Hill, become lawyers in Washington or work for trade associations or become lobbyists. And I just couldn't see, after a 5-year stint of helping shape the communications laws of the country, particularly as it related to cable television, which was just developing at the time, that was going to be a very rewarding existence for me. And I happened to meet the chairman of GE, the legendary Jack Welch, because all three television networks were changing hands in the mid 80s, and GE was in the process of buying NBC, which obviously had a lot of regulatory issues associated with it. And I got to meet him in the midst of all that. When it was all over, he called me up and put me on a track to come to work for NBC. He said, "Look, we have television stations, but we got to get into this cable television thing." And from there, I became the first president of NBC Cable and started CNBC and MSNBC. And I guess there was a lot of luck involved.
With hard work, I'm sure, what you pay attention to and give intention to equal those coincidences in our lives. I always say the mathematical equation of luck. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, like me, and I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs who end up, if we connected the dots backwards, nobody would believe that that's how you get to where you are. But our relationship with money as entrepreneurs, when we leave some of the most stable professions, you're a Wall Street lawyer. That's a very stable economic profession. And I think a lot of people struggle with their relationship with money when they follow what would be a passion or a belief like you have in order to get into a new industry, a new space from a very secure one. What was your relationship with money, or was it, or did it play a part in that transition when you went to go work with Jack?
Well, the big pay cut was going from Wall Street to to the
Capitol
government,
Hill.
Capitol Hill. But I figured in your mid-20s, if you can't take that kind of risk, you're never going to take it. And it wasn't as if I was starting with no income at all and starting a new business. And then on Capitol Hill, I got married, and my wife was working for Merrill Lynch, and she was doing well. So I can't say that any of that was a real hardship financially. And then going from Capitol Hill to the corporate world of NBC in New York was obviously a big jump. So I guess the stories of entrepreneurship, of what people struggle through to start businesses on their own, I can't claim any of that as part of my story. We were starting businesses within GE, at the time the biggest company in the world. Now, GE was an earnings beast, meaning losses and dilution of earnings was not a welcome thing. And so there was plenty of pressure, but I didn't have to mortgage my home in order to drive the businesses. So you've had many entrepreneurial stories in terms of people's relationship with money there that really are some heroic efforts, and I can't claim any of that.
That's okay, because as a recovering lawyer myself, I always told people, because I got involved in the internet from oil and gas litigation, which was a high paying profession. And my mom literally told me that I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that the internet was a fad, and that if I got involved with the internet, it was a true tragedy of what I had pursued for so many years. But yet I always said my law degree allowed me to hedge my bet. Because I could, as any lawyer, I could always go back to practicing law. And I think a lot of kids today, or young entrepreneurs, they discredit or devalue education. And I think in a variety of aspects, as long as education is affordable for you, because that's the only, for me, critical life or business issue, is I see kids overextending themselves for an education when they don't have to. But more importantly, I think education in the entrepreneurial journey gives you more opportunities and options. And most importantly, believe it or not, I think it just allows you to hedge your bet. So if you do get involved into a venture that isn't what you thought it would be, or you always can fall back, you're not sitting on the streets without any type of platform to live off of. Now, moving forward, you've had...
I would say my relationship with money, though, was very direct when it came to CNBC, because just to your point about teaching, educating, giving more information for people to be smarter about money, the whole basis of CNBC was there wasn't a way for people to get quality business television, flipping on the dial, getting insights at the moment as the action was happening in the market, to hear from financial community leaders, to hear from analysts, and to get that information in a way that we really set out to change the face of business by informational television for consumers. And that was very much a thought that was core to what we were doing.
And everything that you did was very, visionary. It's pre-chasm. And, when you kind of took the helm here as the executive chairman of Engine Media, you're on the cutting edge again. And was that a difficult decision to dive back in, after you've created such a legacy? You have nothing to prove, but yet now you're on the cutting edge of integrated news, gaming, sports, esports, all the things that I believe are the future of media and the platform that's going to be necessary to distinguish how people interact with the new media and the new content. You're right there once again, on top of what I think is, the leader, as we'll look back another 10 years going, oh, Tom was the executive chairman of Engine, and just add that to all the NBCs that he worked with. For you, what was that decision like to continue after there's nothing to prove?
Well, I started in the business side with news and trying to, as I just mentioned, revolutionize a form of news coverage. In going to TiVo, it was really all about changing the television entertainment experience, having television programming on demand at your fingertips, making it really easy to customize what was there for you to watch. And then very quickly, we went into Netflix and Amazon streaming to the television set. They were computer services, and TiVo was the one that brought them out to the television. And really, we were the pioneers of what has now become mainstream television, the streaming of entertainment TV. And what I wanted to do, and have had a thought for a long time in doing, is changing the way consumers think about sports television. And maybe the most common denominator experience in watching sports television, fathers watching with sons, buddies watching with each other, has always been talking back and forth. Sports on TV, much more of a social experience. What's going to happen? What's the quarterback going to do? What's the next play on the field going to be? And giving people a way to socially interact through some kind of tangible way of doing what they've always been doing since the early 50s with sports on television. And we created an app, a mobile app synced to television for a way for people to play along and do that. That's kind of one element of the sports transformation we see. And you're seeing some slice of that playing out with sports gambling, although sports gambling on a mobile basis has really not been fully integrated into play-by-play action the way it has in Europe, which is something that WinView, and a division of Engine, is doing here in the United States. But you also have to think of what the younger generation thinks about sports. And when they think sports, many think of esports first. Esports being competitive video gaming, which has all kinds of teams that play each other, influencers that play each other, gamers that are amateur gamers playing each other. And that element of sports and all the ways to bring that out and embellish it as a way for people to socially enjoy it more is another part of the developing sports experience. So the answer to your question was, sports was the next area for me to feel as if I could do something that was taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I have my now 11-year-old who was 7 at the time that introduced me to esports and told me that they sold out Oracle Arena as I was going to the 7th game of the NBA championship with LeBron James and Steph Curry. And I looked at him at 7 and said, buddy, they don't watch video games at stadiums. That's on TV. And he said, no, Dad, I swear. And my media head said, Dave, more people will watch the League of Legends championship than this 7th game of the NBA finals. And it went beyond that now, where people just, more people watch, Thursday night football with a Twitch influencer than actually watch the game. There's an extraordinary opportunity within the content. What other areas, as a last question, in innovative TV, integrated TV, I call it, beyond gambling and polling, do you see, is there going to be innovative, integrated shopping? What areas are you looking at? Since I don't think I have, you're in like 3 different cable TV Hall of Fames. I don't think there's anyone with more situational knowledge than you. I would be amiss to ask, where do you see this integration of TV and this community that you're talking about developing over the next 10 years, for example, or even the next year?
Well, I think that certainly one of the things to keep your eye on is Amazon as a force in television. They have developed a major entertainment service in Amazon Prime. They have a bouquet of streaming channels. They have a device, Fire TV, that is about the most popular out there in terms of connecting you to the streaming world. They have developed an advertising business in the last few years that is second only to Google's and Facebook's. And they just bid on football with a huge commitment to Thursday night football, the first tech firm to really become one of the major players in sports television, where they will produce, anchor their own version of the most popular sport on television. And I think we will see them combining e-commerce with television, meaning buying what you see in a whole different way that truly combines advertising, which has always been part of television, with a more customized shopping experience that turns what you see on TV as something that you can look at, access, and buy instantaneously. So I think you'll see a lot more integration of those kind of elements going forward.
I absolutely agree. And the wisdom and experience. Last quick question. Are you enjoying it today as much as you did when you started?
Uh, I am. It's I get to be a commentator on political and business issues beyond working on the business issues right in front of me, and I find that keeps me current and broadens my perspective, and in that sense provides a way for me to think about all this that continues to make it fun and enlightening and always learning something new.
Well, thank you for creating and accelerating so much new for my generations, the generations that precede and post my experience, from my 11-year-old who utilizes the platforms that you're building and will build. What an extraordinary journey, what extraordinary lessons.